So in this video, we're going to revisit the same two examples that we've looked at previously in previous videos. And this time, though, we're going to use technology to find the confidence intervals. So for this example, in a January 2020 poll conducted by Zogby Analytics, 565 of 1,028 randomly selected adult Americans reported being registered organ and tissue donors. So we had a series of questions that we answered previously. What I want to focus on here is part C. Construct a 95% confidence interval for the proportion of adult Americans who are registered organ and tissue donors. So previously, when we did this by hand, we found the answer to be 0.5192 to 0.5800. Again, our purpose here is to show you how to use StatCrunch and the calculator to be able to figure this out. So I'm going to pull in my calculator, and the location that we're going to go on the calculator to construct confidence intervals is under the Stat button. So I hit the Stat button, and then this is going to be a statistical test, so I'm going to use the arrows to highlight the tests menu. And I'm going to scroll down this list until I find the command 1propzint. So on my calculator, that's option A. It can vary depending on the age and model of your calculator. So this is a 1propzint. So let me explain the meaning of that. 1 means we're dealing with one sample. Prop means we're dealing with proportions. Z means we're dealing with the normal distribution. Int means it's a confidence interval. So a 1 proportion Z interval is what this is talking about. So I'm going to select that option, and when I do, I get this screen. So what I need to do is I need to enter in the value of X. So this is the number of individuals that have the characteristic of success. In this case, that is 565 individuals who are registered organ and tissue donors. And then I have to enter in the sample size. In this case, that was 1,028. And I have to enter my level of confidence, my C level. And so in this case, that's 95% confidence. And so all I have to do then is say calculate. And when I do, I get my confidence interval. So my confidence interval is 0.5192 to 0.5800 if I round to 4 places. And again, that is the same result that we got when we calculated this by hand, 0.5192 to 0.5800. Now we can also do this in StatCrunch. So in StatCrunch, if we want to construct a confidence interval, we're going to go to the Stat button, and this time we're going to go down to Proportion Stats. Proportion Stats because we're dealing with a proportion. When I point at the Proportion Stats menu, I get 2 options. I have the option of 1 sample or 2 sample. Well, in this case, we're dealing with 1 sample. Later on, we'll talk about the 2 sample case. But for now, we're dealing with just 1 sample. When I point at that, I get other options that come up. I have with data, with summary, power sample size, with sample size. Well, in this case, if we have data, that would literally mean that we would have how many individuals said yes and how many individuals said no. So it would literally be like a list of yes and no's to the question of, are you an organ and tissue donor? So we don't have actual raw data. We have summary information. So we're going to select with summary. So when I select that, what I have to enter is the number of successes. So that is the number of individuals with the characteristic that we're talking about. In this case, that's 565. I enter in the number of observations. So that's the sample size, 1,028. Now on this window, I have a couple of bullets here. We have hypothesis test and we have confidence interval for P. In this case, we're dealing with a confidence interval, so I'm going to select that option. I'm putting a bullet there. And then I have to enter my level of confidence. So in this case, it's defaulted to 95% level of confidence, which is what we want. Otherwise, we would enter in our level of confidence in decimal form. And our method is going to be the standard method. So we're going to just leave that at standard. So if I say compute, that gives us our confidence interval. So the lower limit of our confidence interval is 0.5192 if I round to 4 places, and the upper limit is 0.5800 if I round, and that is the same result that we got both by hand and with the calculator. Let's look at our other example. So in our second example, we did the Hill-Harris-X poll, and there we had 1,001 randomly selected adults, and 191 responded that they almost never believed political polls that were reported in the media. So there we wanted to do both a 90% and a 95% confidence interval. So on my calculator, I can do that, the same as we did the first example. So I'm going to go to Stat and Tests, and I'm going to go down to the 1 prop Z interval option. And so there we had 191 out of 1,001. So I enter that. And for part A, we were dealing with a 90% confidence interval. So I changed that confidence level to 90% and calculate. And so when I do that, I get 0.1704 if I round to 4 places to 0.2112. And if I pull back in the results that we obtained by hand, we see we have those exact same results, 0.1704 to 0.2112. Again, that's the same result we obtained here with the calculator. If we want to do the 95% confidence, then we just go back to Stat and Tests and back down to our 1 prop Z interval. And we already have the 191, the 1,001 here. We just change our level of confidence to be 0.95 and recalculate. And so we get 0.1665 if we round to 4 places, to 0.2152 if we round to 4 places. And again, bringing back in our results, we have 0.1665 to 0.2151. So in this case, we do have a little bit of discrepancy on that second one, but that's a rounding issue. And in fact, that 5 in the last place may not actually be a 5. That may be rounded up, and that could be the reason for that discrepancy. In the same way, we could do this in StatCrunch. So if I go back to Stat and Proportion Stats, 1 sample, and in this case, again, we have summary information. So our number of successes is 191. Our number of observations is 1,001. We're doing a confidence interval, and at first we want to do a 90% confidence interval. And so if I compute, we get the 0.1704. That's our lower limit here. 0.2112. Again, the same results that we got by hand and with the calculator. If I want to now change that and do the 95% confidence interval, I could either start over, or I can go to Options and Edit, and I could go down here and change my level of confidence to 95. And if I recompute, I get 0.1665 to 0.2152, and that does go out so that we can see it is actually a 5, so that should be 2152. So we had a little bit of error in our by hand method. So anyway, this is how we can compute confidence intervals when we're using technology. So this is going to conclude our video showing how we can use both the TI calculator and StatCrunch in order to compute confidence intervals.